Welcome to Circle of Hearts Radio. Journey with Grandmother Alaya as she enters her magical world of relics, sacred sites, and ancient crystal skulls. Meet with exciting trailblazer authors and individuals shifting the consciousness of humanity. Send her your questions to be answered on air on her monthly segment, Ask the Oracle. And now your host, Grandmother Alaya, in the sanctuary on the airwaves on OMTimes Radio.
Welcome to the Circle of Hearts Radio on OMTimes Radio, and I am Alaya. Welcome to my sanctuary on the airwaves. Today, with all the chaotic energies and upset that we've been experiencing, we're going to have a wonderful guest. We're going to bring on the subject of archangels and personal empowerment and love. And Belinda Womack is a beautiful spirit. Her path in life is to help. And as the indigenous elders would have described her, would be as a clear bone. It's clear bone. That her channels are very clear without influence of ego, which is something you really have to have a very pure intent and a pure spirit to bring through such clarity. She brings through some very important information. Today we're going to talk about her path and some of her book, A Powerful Guide to Opening Your Life to the Wisdom. And that's not it. I'm looking at something else. What's of Archangels, divine intervention in daily life? Okay, Belinda, save me. How are you?
Hi, Linda. It's wonderful to be on your show today, and I'm so honored to be here and to share some of the wisdom of the 12 archangels with your audience. These angels are they are teachers for all of us here at the great school called Earth. They say that our planet is actually a schoolroom where we come here to learn the lessons of love, how to choose love instead of getting all caught up in fear. And we both know how easy it is to get trapped into fearful thoughts and negative thoughts and poor me thoughts and victim consciousness. And these are the angels that, of course, they work with all of our guides and helpers in heaven to really teach us, really teach us how we can recognize fear and how we can work with the great power of love. It is the greatest power to transform that fear back into love and to see truly miraculous results in our everyday life. That's what they're about.
Yeah, it's a perfect timing because with all the chaos on this planet right now and people feeling so absolutely isolated, and there's groups of different religious groups, but yet somewhere in the mass consciousness people are saying there's something more and they're looking for that light at the end of the tunnel. They feel something that there's what they're experiencing is all the fear of others, but they haven't been able to quite connect that there's a beautiful source out there, and it's not all these little different isolated religions, that we're all part of this beautiful light and love that expresses itself in human form, animal form, plant form, etc., on this planet. So having wonderful individuals like you taking up the call to arms, more or less. People are saying help. Is this what sort of inspired you to write this book?
So, Linda, in all honesty, I was asked to write this book, and its original form, it began about 18 years ago, and it was called Angel's Guide. And then that book disappeared. It just it went out of stock, And I was like devastated, what am I to do? And so the angels set it up that I would completely rewrite my first book from cover to cover and add a great deal of information to it. So it got a complete overhaul. And then it was published by Inner Traditions and Barron Company, last November. So I just wanted to say that, yes, I totally agree with you. We all come from what the 12 archangels call the central sun. The central sun is just another word for our creator. And I often call our creator Mother, Father, God. And from the center of the heart of God, this is where the 12 archangels come from, and this is where we all come from. And as we can connect with that source and remember where we come from and remember that we truly are children of the divine and that we have help and we have power, that's how we can really change our reality. So you mentioned that individuals from your experience that they're feeling like they're picking up the fear of other people. Well, we absolutely do that. We will pick up the fear, the sorrow, the anger, the lack consciousness from others. And what the angels teach is they say, well, go within yourself first, because within each of us we have access to every particle of the universe, and that means every human being that is walking on this planet. And so what we can do, and the angels give us tools for this, is we can look within and we can find those heavy-duty negative thoughts and those lower vibration emotions such as rage and guilt and resentment, and we can transform them. We can work with the power of love, and we can transform these lower vibrations. And then not only does that help us to shift out of fear and everything that fear creates. So bottom line, fear creates suffering on our planet. We help all of humanity, all of planet Earth, to dream a better dream, to experience a much better reality. And that's the work that, if you want to call us light workers or love workers, that's what we really are called to do. The angels just add, remember that it all starts within you. Right inside of our vessels, we can find everything that's happening on the planet. All of the angry masculine energy that's out of balance. If we go inside and we find that angry male inside of us, and we just put them in some love. So we're going to use the color violet, that energy of our crown chakra or energy center, and we just hold that angry masculine in that color purple. Well, we calm down and we feel peaceful and we feel that shift, and that's how powerful the energy of love is. But not only does that change that angry masculine within us so that we don't sabotage ourselves, we help to shift that vibration of the angry masculine everywhere on the planet. So if we want to know, well, what can we do to help with the terrorist situation? What can we do with everything that's going on with the politics, especially in the United States? We can go within and we can do some really awesome transformation work. And we're going to experience results very quickly. And we're going to feel that, wow, we're doing something to help our planet, and that's a very good feeling.
I totally agree with you. I find looking, especially on social media, that I usually read things just to get a flavor of what's going on. And I can see where people are becoming so empathic and so sensitive that they're just becoming sponges. And they're what they're pulling in, they're giving out. So they really need to be able to break the cycle. Now, I also agree with you that the change comes within. I've heard many times, what's my spiritual path? What can I do? I'm only one person. I don't have any power. I don't have anything. And I so agree with what you say, Belinda, of the changes within. If you make one change within yourself, whether it's opening your heart or opening your mind, that energy trickles down into the mass consciousness. And you don't even realize it. You don't realize consciously what you're doing, but you're actually, by helping understand yourself and your thoughts and what the spoken word, you're adding healing to the chaotic mess. I don't know if that makes sense or not.
Yes, it totally makes sense, because we're all part of oneness, and truly we are all part of the one human body, and that's part of what the 12 Archangels teach. They say, well, think of your soul as a cell in the body. So each of our souls make up a cell in the one human body. And so when we choose to connect with our souls and get that ego into alignment, which just takes a lot of love. That's what it takes. When it takes that every day to shift the vibration of those negative thoughts back to being here now and being grounded and staying positive, then we bring that ego into alignment with our heart and with our soul. And again, that definitely helps the entire human body. We are all empathic. We are all telepathic. It's just some of us know that because we've experienced it so loudly. We feel the feelings of others so intensely, and we hear their thoughts so very loudly. But I agree with you, Linda, that every human being is feeling the shift in consciousness on our planet, because it's time for us to wake up.
Okay, we'll continue this after the commercial.
Conscious media for conscious minds. OMTimes. Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network.
Hi, this is Sylvia Henderson, intuitive life coach and energy healer. Are you ready to elevate and rise way above your normal? Be sure to listen to my show, Intuitive Transformations, on OMTimes Radio, Sunday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern. Get the inspiration you need to transform your life.
What if we got rewarded for every good decision?
Dinner. Meal needs a vegetable. Check.
Amazing.
Vegetables cooked with a healthier oil instead of butter?
Fantastic.
Replacing bad fats with healthier fats like those in canola or vegetable oil is good for your heart. Take up the challenge for good health, because the you of the future will say,
fantastic.
Visit heart.org/facethefats. Canola Info proudly supports the American Heart Association's Face the Fats campaign.
During the commercial, I was thinking, I know the listeners come from many diversified religions, and some may not be actually familiar with the concept of the angels. Do you think you can explain that a little bit, if it's possible?
Well, angels are the angels that I communicate with, the 12 archangels of the central sun, are all loving and all powerful forces that help us to learn our lessons as we travel through schoolroom earth. So angels originate, just like we all do, where all souls come from. They originate from the central sun or the heart of God. So the central sun is synonymous with central soul. So we all come from the soul of Mother, Father, God, or Source, or the Creator. The Creator has many names. And the angels, their vibration is that of pure love, and it's musical. They work with the sound of God, which is also the same as the divine feminine or the divine mother, to help us emotionally. Here on Earth, we human beings, we're very good at separating our thoughts from our feelings. So we're trying to think positive thoughts, but we're angry as heck. And those two just don't line up. So, even our guardian angels, they're busy to help us connect our thoughts with our feelings, and to then really raise the vibration of both of those so that there is a connection. And why do we want to do that? Well, if we go back to the central sun, the source comes from, there is the light. The light creates pure thought. And there is the sound, which creates pure emotion. And when pure light and pure sound comes together, pure thought and pure emotion comes together, it creates the energy of love. And love is the greatest power in all of the universe. It's a transforming power. It lifts us up. It unites us with all the other particles of energy, because truly we all come from energy, and energy cannot be created or destroyed. So that's where angels come from. They come from the central sun, and they work with the sound. They help us to feel our feelings, especially us human beings. And they say to feel is to heal. By feeling our feelings, that's what actually gets our energy to move, and that's what really, really can help our physical bodies, because when we don't feel our feelings, they get all clogged up inside of us, and it will turn into illness. So that's one of the ways they help us. So I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, and I think it really applies, because even if, let's say, somebody in South Asia, or a person who's Hindu or Muslim, I am not that familiar with their religions, but I think you can apply this consciousness of love and light and creation to any of the deities that's in your own personal religion. So what we are familiar with angels may be another religion would see it in a different way, but we're talking about the same Mother, Father, God.
Right, we're talking about the same help.
Right.
And you're absolutely correct that in other religions on our planet, they do know the angels, and they definitely know the 12 archangels, but they may refer to them in different ways. And because the 12 archangels are more ancient than religion, they go far beyond that. They're older than the beginning of our planet, because again, they come from the very center of the central sun, and they helped our Creator to create schoolroom Earth. So they've been known by many different names, and even in Native American language, that they would be called the forces, or sometimes even referred to as the directions, the primary directions of north and east and south and west and center. So they're all there. It's all the same help, and that's the main thing that we can all remember, is that we're so intimately connected. We really are one family, and there's so much help to support us in remembering that, because there's just everything is about separation. That's what fear does. Fear says, I am separate from you, and you believe in this, and I don't, and so I need to be afraid of you. Well, when we bring love into the story, then love, again, it's the greatest power. It transforms that fear, and it reminds us, hey, you all come from the same beginning. You're really brothers and sisters to each other. So just chill out and focus on what you share in common. You come from the same source.
Well, that I appreciate you clarifying, because I didn't want people to think, well, this doesn't apply. You know, I can't, if it doesn't apply to my pattern of thought, that how can I use the tools that they offer me, you know, for healing and whatever. But going into a little bit more clarity like this, we're seeing that it's all the same. Different names, different religions, and like you said, we have to get past the idea of isolated groups. We have to start sensing that feeling of love and light within all of us and in all life, whether it's animal, plant, or everything on this planet, is some kind of life to be respected. So just understanding that point, I think that is a good point to start off with, building up on the information you share, because now people are saying, well, all right, I guess I'm part of this group here, you know, just because I may, or my parents taught me, you know, to follow Allah or, you know, Vishnu or anybody else, that this information applies to me also. You know, we're becoming one heart. That's something I've heard forever, and I kind of always follow your heart. Your heart never leads you astray. If something attracts you, look into it, because your heart energy is part of the Creator's energy. So I just wanted to get that clarity in so that everybody feels like they're part of the group. We're not leaving anybody out here.
No, of course not. And that's, again, what we came here to this planet to experience, is the illusion of fear. And fear is what causes us to believe in separation from each other, separation from our Creator, and separation within our own self. You know, the ego, which is part of the human brain, was created to believe that it can be absolutely separate and independent from not only from other people, but from the other half of its own brain. The ego lives in the left hemisphere, and this is cliche, but the logical, rational part of our brains that believes that it's in control. It believes in past, present, and future, and it loves to rationalize, and it doesn't like feelings, and it's not really into spirituality. It's like, you know, prove it to me. And then we have this creative hemisphere that's rich with spirit. It's what opens us to our creative imagination. It's where we can connect with our intuition. And so, you know, we have this amazing ability, we human beings, to actually have one part of our own head be separate from the other part. And in fear, the more we buy into fear and that we are in danger, and that, you know, all this life is about suffering, then it just it can make it even more difficult to really connect with our hearts. And when we say connect with our hearts, it's just another word for connecting with the flow of intuitive truth that right or creative hemisphere is connected to all the time. We've got a part of our brains that is always connected to spirit, always connected to the angels and to our loved ones in heaven. And if our ego says, well, that's a bunch of bunk, then we can really shut that door. So it can be wonderful experience for those who are willing to just say, well, you know what, let me just try this. Let me just try this power of love stuff and stepping into my heart. Let me just see what that's like. And that's what I love so much, Linda, about working with the tools in Lessons from the 12 Archangels, Divine Intervention in Daily Life, because they give us such easy tools to visualize. They work with guided imagery, which again works with all of that amazing giftedness in that part of our brains that sometimes we don't use. But when we visualize just easy things in color and we do their exercises, it calms the ego down, it clears our vessels of fear, and it opens our brain to say, hey, love really works because it's a power of creation that we have. We create our lives from the inside out. We create everything that happens to us. We are creating that, and it's so easy to believe that that's impossible, but we really are creating our lives, and we do that with our thoughts, with our feelings. But the hitch is that a lot of that is that creating force that we're working with is caught down there in our subconscious, so we don't realize that we are creating our reality. We think we're victims. We think it's somebody else's fault when we get hurt.
I was going to say, for the same train of thought here, I was going as we head into the next commercial, when you come back, the Archangels have something to say of how to take that first step out, victimization. To feel you have no control over your life, because that would be the first step of coming into your own power and starting to heal. I know it's a big subject, but maybe we can kind of direct it.
Absolutely, yeah.
So it's like I said, I'm listening to your talk, and I'm going, I got bring out the word victim, and there you said it.
Yeah, we do create our lives. We do. And we can change what we don't like. We can change the parts of our lives that where we feel trapped and where we're feeling abused and where we're feeling that God has abandoned us. Those are actually awesome, wonderful opportunities when those events happen to us to make a different choice.
We'll be back shortly.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Have you ever wondered how to change your love paradigm? The secret key is finding a love partnership, not just a regular connection. How do you find these? Through conscious relationships. Ascending Hearts Dating is a dating site for people like you that believes in second chances and a different type of spiritual connection. Try Ascending Hearts for free today at ascendinghearts.com. and change your love paradigm. Ascending Hearts, the premier dating community for the spiritually awake.
Hello! Join us, Lisa Berry and Michelle Carter, every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time for the Mindset Makeover, What's Possible. Get ready to become present, clear, and unstuck, and start living fully, led by your heart. While you listen and feel this transformation through vibration of word, sound, and song, you'll open up to what's possible and experience your shift.
Since the day I stopped drinking, my life has gotten better and better. I can't take any credit for it. It just seems that without alcohol, I think better, I'm more careful with money, I watch what I say, I don't get into trouble like I did when I was drinking. It's scary trying to walk through life alone, and today I have that very distinct feeling that I don't ever have to be alone again. Alcoholics Anonymous. It works. Look us up. Check your phone book, newspaper, or AA.org.
Well, welcome back. And Belinda, getting back to what we talked about before, I don't know. I'm sure you run into this. Everybody that, I would say 90% of the people, or even more that, I come across are so downtrodden. They have very little inspiration, or if they do get some inspiration for life, something else comes up and, beats them back down. And they forget, I know I do myself, that we actually have the power to change our life. And that's why, actually, I love your book so much. I've tried some of the exercises, and they're so easy to understand, which is so nice because sometimes lessons come so complicated and it's hard to follow them. But, your words come through with a lot of energy just in your words and written print. It's very comforting. It's like you're there. You're talking us through it. But getting back to the idea of being victimization, what's the first step? How do you shake yourself out of it? Because everybody seems to feel they're not worthy. Why should I be important?
Well, Linda, this is epidemic for humanity to believe that we are unworthy, and it comes from, again, a core belief that we have been abandoned by our Creator. It's very easy for us to feel overwhelmed by life and to feel victimized by life. So when the 12 archangels and all of our guides and helpers in heaven want to help us to move, even to take a small step into remembering that we create our reality, they say to begin by breathing. Just take some deep breaths, because we actually cannot hold fear in our bodies when we take deep breaths. And so just that simple exercise can begin to help us to calm down, to get connected, because God lives within us all the time. And it is through our breath that we can begin to connect. And so that's one simple thing that we can do. Another thing that we can do is to ask for help. One of the biggest things that human beings especially have a challenge with is this whole idea of, we really get to ask for help. It's safe to ask God for help. There's help for me, and that's where angels really can show results very quickly, as well as all of our loved ones in heaven. We have all these ancestors, whether they're our own personal ancestors or just the ancestors of all the peoples that have traveled through this planet. They are available to us, along with the Ascended Masters and all of these just amazing teachers, that they want to help us. They understand that we are in school here, so it's kind of like thinking that you're a student and you're having difficulty with your algebra. And you don't just have one tutor to help you learn algebra and do well on the exams. You have countless tutors helping you every moment to learn that algebra, get those equations down, and to do great on the exam. So I use the example of algebra, but what I'm talking about is when life throws us a test. When life throws us a situation where we can either panic and go, oh my gosh, my life is going to blow up here, or we can breathe. And we can say, okay, what do I need to learn from this situation? And how can I bring love energy into this story so that I can experience a better outcome than maybe I did last time? We human beings, we continue to create the past over and over and over until we learn from it. And so, again, we need to start by just coming into center and taking that deep breath, and then ask for help. Again, life doesn't have to be so incredibly lonely and terrifying. We really do have angels and guides that are helping us. And with that said, sometimes I'm asked the question, well, so if there are angels and there's loved ones in heaven helping us, then why do we have violence on this planet? And why do we have so much suffering and lack and just disrespect one people to another people, and just hardship and pain? Well, again, the reason we have that on this planet is not that our Creator desires that for us. We have not been abandoned. It's because we are here to learn that this is what fear creates. And fear is, it still comes from love. It's just at the bottom vibration. And so, it's fear that will create, it manifests, thought manifests. So fear manifests as suffering, and low vibration emotions that come from fear, such as rage, manifests as violence. So it's truly by recognizing that's a big important step. Recognizing, hey, I can ask for help with this. I can ask for help, and I can work with the power of love in all of, God's rainbow of colors. That's what the exercises are that the angels teach in Lessons from the 12 Archangels. How to work with the colors of our energy centers or our chakras as healing tools. So we can just visualize, beautiful violet purple rain falling down on us, and that's going to clear anxiety from our vessels, and that's going to help us to get in touch with our feelings. We can release those heavy duty emotions. For example, we can release anger by just seeing ourselves take a ride on an awesome red dragon. That's going to help us to get connected with our anger and to set it free, to release it in a positive way so that it's not destructive. And that's what we really have the power to do. And as we start to work with these tools, these simple tools of love, we start to realize I do have power. Look, my life is changing. That turned out better than I expected. And that's where we begin. But we begin by learning how to breathe. It's that simple.
And I think this also applies to healing, because in healing there's that sense of victimization again. Why me? Why did this go wrong? What did I do? Etc., etc. And that's a whole different subject in self-healing. But if you can center and, like Linda says, breathe and realize whatever you created, and it really is created, because I always use the expression to my daughters when we were talking about negative feelings. I don't think they listen to me, but anyway, is if you constantly see a pimple on your nose and you focus on it, even if it's not there, it's going to manifest. It's going to show up at some point. And then you go, oh, yeah, see, I got this pimple on my nose. I knew it. And your spoken word is just bringing more of that energy to you. So it's the same thing with healing. If you're saying, oh, I'm sickly, and the doctor says it's impossible, whatever, I think it's important to regroup and say, no, I can make a choice here. Does that make any sense to you? Or?
Yes, of course, Linda, and that's exactly what you did with your near-death experience, right?
Yeah, I guess. Well, I always can laughingly say I was a stubborn old lady. The doctors told me, or told my husband, get the paperwork done. If she gets through the operation, she'll be a vegetable for life. And I said no. And when you say no to a doctor, that upsets them. Okay? And they say, oh, you're in denial and all this stuff. And I go, I won't own it. Now, I had no idea where that was coming from, but that kept me going, saying I would not own the disease, or I would not own what the problem was or what the projection was. That's why I was able to create a different scenario. If I said, oh, yeah, doctor, oh, this is horrible, I'll get my paperwork done, put me in a rest home, and I'll check out. So that's what I'd like people to understand also, and through the, what you're discussing here, the sense of becoming empowered. You are spirit. You have a choice which you create in your life, and you have the support of many guides and angels and beautiful energies around you to make it happen. All you have to do is ask.
Well, I agree. I agree with you. And I just wanted to add to that the soul is ultimately in charge. So in the case of your nearly leaving the planet, your soul said, I'm not going to leave. And so it, together with your guides, it filled you with that courage to say, nope, I'm going to stay right here. My work is not done yet. And sometimes we can be in our ego and we can think, I'm going to go ahead and use death as an example, physical death, since that's what we started with. I don't want to leave. I'm going to beat this cancer, this heart disease, or whatever it is. But sometimes I just want to say this, that death can be our greatest gift. Meaning when our soul says, hey, you've got your homework done and you accomplished what you needed to accomplish on schoolroom earth, then death can be quite a blessing, and we can embrace that. So I think it's very important to really listen to our feelings, because our feelings will tell us exactly what it is that we need, and that's why we have feelings. So that we get in touch with what we need. And again, I mentioned this earlier in the show, is that what the angels teach is that it's by not feeling our feelings, by blocking them, that those feelings get walled off inside of us, and that's what creates physical illness, because then our physical body has to be the messenger for what's going on for us emotionally. And so, it can be as simple as heart disease is a message back to us, hey, open your heart to yourself. Have you been kind to yourself today? So that's how it all works together.
All right, we'll continue this after we come back.
Feed your soul with Waves of Consciousness on OMTimes Radio. The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill, while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Hello, I'm Miriam Knight of New Consciousness Review, inviting you to my new show where I interview the rising stars of the conscious awakening. We'll explore the many faces of consciousness in action and intriguing perspectives on life, the universe, and everything in between. Join us each Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern on the Rising Stars Show.
I'm Alec Baldwin with People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. I grew up loving circuses and other traveling animal shows, but it never occurred to me what life might be like for the animals. Training wild animals to do things they don't understand takes force. Routine discipline with a hook or whip with the heel of a boot shows the animal exactly who's the boss. Don't patronize animal acts. Please contact People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals.
757-622-PETA.
Well, we're in the last segment already, and I thought I was going to lose things to talk about, but I'm thinking of a million things to talk about. To bring it to closure in a way is Belinda's work, the lessons from the 12 Archangels, divine intervention in daily life, is exactly that. It gives you a sense of empowerment. It gives you a sense of tools to work with. And I think that 3 big problems in this earthly life is that, I mean, we've come to learn different emotions and experiences, and fear is a big one because we need to learn to recognize fear and how to manage it and what to do about it within ourselves. Victimization is another one, and healing. And once you get the sense of you can do something about your life, it's a whole new world. And Belinda's book is a wonderful foundational work to start with. And Belinda, I know I was looking at the exercises, and I know you work with the colors and the chakras, but just a quick one before we go a little bit more over where they can get in touch with you, is people worry about abundance. And you had one exercise in there about, I think, like getting a bowl, putting all your worries about bills and everything in this bowl, and then surrounding it or filling it with the violet light of transformation from Saint Germain. And this really works. I mean, I'm simplifying it. I don't know if you can remember it to clarify it a little bit more for people, or.
I think you're talking about the exercise called dissolving debt, right, which we can use in many different, we can use it in different ways. But it's basically where you see a large pot or kettle cooking on the stove with bubbling violet fire, again, the energy of transformation and forgiveness. And you put your bills in there, or you can even see your credit cards going in there, whatever it is, your bank statements, and you just visualize this, and you ask the little child that lives within your heart to stir the violet fire soup, the angels call it. And once it's all been transformed, it'll turn into a golden love light. And then you can just drink some of that golden love light, that soup. And it really does help us to receive abundance, because what happens to us human beings is that we get so caught up in lack, and we don't understand that lack, meaning lack of money to pay our bills, it actually comes from a subconscious belief that we are not worthy. And so when we ask for help and we work with these colors, what we're doing in this exercise is we're actually transforming the fear of lack, and we're asking for that violet fire of forgiveness to reach down in our subconscious and find those places where we feel unworthy to receive and to transform that. And that's why the soup turns from violet to golden. That golden color is it's the white gold of the central sun, the heart of God, and it means pure love, and that's where abundance comes from. So that simple exercise is one that really is working deep in our subconscious to help us to receive. You know, the angels don't explain everything. They just say, do this. It's like a recipe. And their exercises, they say, just do the recipe. But, you know, after working with them for 25 years, and before that I was a biologist, so I like to have proof of things, I've discovered what's really happening, because that's just the way my brain works. I have to go, well, what's really going on with this violet fire? And why are you having us put our bills in a pot and boil them? And that's exactly what they're doing, is they're bypassing ego. They don't want us to have too much information. And they're showing us, hey, let's get that love in to where it's been missing in you, so that you can open up to your divine worthiness and receive some miracles of prosperity.
You know, I think prosperity, I mean, especially the world situation and all the breakdown that's happening, I think this is a major focus. And that's why when I was going through your book and I saw that, I'm going, that would be a good example, because it's something very clear, instructional, and it makes a lot of sense. And anybody that's familiar with any kind of energy work, you can see the logic in it, and it's simple enough to try it. And once you try something, and like you said, recipe, you know, you follow the recipe to bake the cake, you end up with a nice cake. So that's why I'm thinking, if people get involved and they look at your book, and because there's many examples, many wonderful lessons and things to do in this book, that if you take something and you start with one and you see a result, that'll give you the confidence to keep building, building up to more and more. And you'll feel very empowered. And once you become empowered, or at least have that sense of who and what you are and what's within you, then you radiate that to other people. Not trying, it just happens. It's a good thing.
Right. That's exactly what happens. Yes.
Like Martha Stewart would say, it's a good thing. So now I'd like to spend, the last 10 minutes and where can people, go a little bit more what you want to bring out about the book, some, high points where people can find it, where they can find your website and find you, because you're a delight.
Well, thank you so much. So as far as the book goes, it's available on Amazon, and at least a few days ago, I don't know if it's still there, but it was a bestseller on Amazon. So you can get it there. You can also order it through my publisher, which is Inner Traditions and Bear & Company. You can also get a signed copy from my website, which is Belinda, Belinda, Womack, WOMACK.com. And I'd just also like to mention that I also offer some audio courses and some online courses. I'm actually going to be starting to teach on the OMTimes platform with Sylvia Henderson. We're hoping to get started in August, and our class is called Healing for the Sensitive Soul. So all of the information is either on my website or will be up there soon. And your listeners are welcome to email me if they have any questions, and my email is authorbelindawomack@gmail.com, which they can find also on my website.
That's, like I said, I'm glad you can be on the OMTimes expert, but, Sylvia, because, I heard the two of you talking, and, you both are really awesome people.
Well, we love to teach together, and I actually met Sylvia on her radio show, and we just, our work very much complements each other, and we just have a great time teaching. And so it's just been, I'm very, very grateful. And if anyone wants to learn more about Sylvia Henderson, of course, they can find her. She has her Intuitive Transformations radio show, or you can go to intuitivetransformations.net. And, we are all one family. That's why we're so grateful to be a part of the OMTimes community, because it really is a wonderful unit and group of individuals that all have that common desire and focus to raise consciousness and to, again, bring love where love has been missing. So I truly am grateful and honored to be included as a writer and as a soon-to-be a teacher on the platform.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you said, because I'm known to say that I think home is great, but anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
It is a great family of people that are helping others, which in today's world you need. If people want answers, there's so much information out there, and it's very reliable. All the sharing. So I won't plug it too much unless you do that today. But the one last thing on your book, if you were to see that book yourself, let's say it didn't come through you or you wouldn't write, what do you think would appeal to you about it?
Well, what I love personally about working with the material in Lessons from the 12 Archangels is that you can use it every day. I can actually ask the angels a question, what are you trying to tell me? What do I need to understand? And I can open the book just where it wants to open, and where my eyes hit the page will answer that question. And sometimes it'll be a paragraph that just says, whoa, this explains everything. And sometimes it'll be an exercise that I know, okay, if I just do this guided imagery, my world is going to feel like heaven again. And that's the way I love to work with the book.
Yeah, I noticed, honestly, in all truth, that's what I did myself. I read it through once, and then afterwards, I have a tendency to get stuck a lot. I'm like everybody else. I do good, and then like, oh, what's going on here? And I just pretty much was thinking, okay, what can I do about this? And I just kind of skimmed the book, and I found a few answers. So, it's similar. So it's a good reference point. And plus, in the beginning, if you start from the very beginning, it provides a lot of good foundational information, because I think people are really ready to understand that concept of oneness.
Yes.
And
yes.
Belinda, boy, thank you for making this go easy.
Well, it's been delightful. Thank you so much for having me as a guest on your show.
Okay.
I appreciate it very, very much.
Okay, thanks so much, Belinda. Have a great day.
You too.